Welcome back, YouTube, to another episode here at WILDMAN Lifts. I'm your host, WILDMAN. Now, on today's episode, it's a very rainy and cold day. Now, on today's episode, I'm going to be doing the SSB bar, right? Now, typically, there's a piece missing from the SSB bar. It's this little contraption right here. It's a handle, and it usually goes right in there. And what this does is you'll actually take a hold of the handle with the implement like this. And then as you squat, you're able to either pull down, which makes the squat harder, or you could push up on the handles, which makes the squat easier because the weight drifts back. And that's why they call this implement a safety squat bar. It's so that if you are in trouble at the bottom, you're able to just lift that thing off your back. And it also makes it easier at the bottom of the lift if you choose to, or makes it harder if you choose to. Now, what I found doing this is it actually gives me shoulder impingements because the way that my shoulder is angled, it rubs against that AC joint. And since I do a lot of pressing, I find that it's too much for those nerves in that AC joint to handle, and they get inflamed. So for a while, when I bought this thing, I actually didn't use it very much because it ended up impinging my shoulders. It wasn't until I saw one of my favorite YouTubers put their hands out wide. Now, when you put your hands out wide, you're unable to cheat this implement. There is no lifting like I showed you. This is going to make sure that I'm upright, so it's like a high bar squat. So it's going to be harder to lift. It's going to roll forward on my back, and so a lot of things are going to be happening. Now, why on earth would I do this? This sounds ridiculous. This sounds stupid. This sounds like, why don't you just do with a normal barbell? Well, the reason why I do it is for two reasons. Number one, it carries over really good into strongman movements, and I do strongman. Number two, it carries over a lot into the deadlift. So this is why I like to use this implement, because I'm currently focusing on deadlift a lot more than I am on any other implement right now. And so this is a great accessory movement to do. So let's pop into today's workout. Let's learn more about the SSB bar. So on today's episode, like I said, I'm doing the SSB wide hands squat. And SSB stands for safety squat bar. And I'm just going to go up in weight, starting with the implement itself, and then just see how I feel as I go up. And as I go up in weight, I'm also going to be doing some pull-ups. And the idea is to hang from a dead hang and to pull all the way up as far as I can. Make sure I'm activating my back. And I'm also going to be doing some box jumps in between, just to make sure that I'm getting that explosive movement as I'm going up in weight on the SSB. And that's going to be the giant set for the day. So now, obviously, with the rain, it kind of changes the way that I look at a workout before I start. The ground is wet. I may not be able to do the implements that I wanted to do today, but also at the same time, I kind of want to do those implements still because it's in the rain and because it's more challenging. And since it was cold as well, I really needed to focus and make sure that I was doing everything proper. So that way I don't slip, and make sure that I was warm enough so that way nothing breaks or cracks or snaps off as I'm getting heavier in the weight. A perfect example of this is I had to tweak this workout just a little bit because I wanted to do weighted pull-ups with a kettlebell, and I wanted to do some step-ups with a heavy kettlebell as well. But since I was dealing with the weather and how cold it was, I thought that wasn't a very good idea. I thought it would just be easier for me to just move gingerly through the exercises and then just see how I feel as I go up in that weight. Now, actually, the day before I did this workout, I actually participated in a 5K for charity. And my wife and I, we didn't really move that fast. We kind of just did it just to, support the charitable cause. But I could definitely feel in my legs and in my hips that I was a little slow in moving. So as a result, I also had to make sure that when I got to my top weight, that everything is set in motion and that I'm ready to hit that weight like I wanted to. And I was supposed to hit 350 pounds today for one rep and see how I feel. But you know how that goes. I was like, I'm gonna go up another 10 pounds and be slightly ahead of my schedule. And that's what I chose to do. So everything was going pretty nice. It was cold and it was rainy, but I was managing to stay warm enough where I felt comfortable going up in weight. So this is going to be my second to near top set. And basically what I'm going to do
is I'm going to see how fast this moves. And you'll see that as I descend and then come up, you can see just how much that bar lurches forward. And you really have to use your upper back to fight that way up into the position that's going to be able to maximize your output. And since it went fairly decent, I thought, you know what, I'll just go for a 360 pound lift today, because last time I did 350 pounds, I believe, and 370 pounds total with the chains. And you can see that it gets a little sticky there in the middle, but it goes up and it actually went smoother than my last set. So I was very happy with that. It means that I'm on the right track. It was 10 pounds over what I was supposed to do, so I was grateful for it.
Now for the variation giant set, I was doing 3 rounds and the ground was really wet, but I didn't care. I wanted to carry that SSB, as I've done and showed you in past videos before, to the end of the bullpen, turn around and walk it back. And I continued with that same format of doing pull-ups just to make it a nice easy number by the time I was done. And I also continued to do those box jumps as well, because I'd have 10 rounds total, which would be an even number for me to track for future references. But you can see just how versatile this implement is. You know, 1 minute I'm doing wide hand back squats with it, and then the next minute I'm carrying it for distance. And the idea that I wanted to hit today was to hit 300 pounds total, there and back. And 2 things were working against me. Number 1, the ground was wet and it was raining and cold. And 2, I couldn't wear a belt, because when I tried to wear a belt, I felt more powerful. However, it started to pinch the skin between the implement and the belt. So I ended up having to carry 300 pounds without a belt. But surprisingly, it went very well. And I actually feel like I can achieve my next goal the next time I do this implement by doing 330 pounds without a belt, which would be super for me. So I was very happy with the way that that went. So as you can see, this SSB is a versatile tool when it comes to weight training. You can either squat with it from the front or put your hands out wide like I demonstrated. You can carry it like a strongman implement, and it's nice and balanced, and the pads are easier to grip onto with your arms than a normal barbell. And I'm going to continue to use it in a different kind of a way right now as I blow through the assistance and the accessory giant sets. So let's pop in and I'll show you another way that you can use this thing. Now for the assistance giant set, I was doing 3 rounds, and since the SSB is already out here, I decided just to use it all the way down through the rest of my workouts. So this is a Zercher squat, where typically you do this with a barbell, but I'm doing it with an SSB bar. And I actually found that it was a lot easier to do than with a barbell. So the barbell is actually a lot harder. The SSB was a lot easier to use. And I was just mainly trying to finish off my legs, because my legs were exhausted, not only from all the squatting I did and the carries, but that 5K I mentioned earlier. And I also did something called Australian pull-ups. So I basically just anchored myself against that wall and basically finished off my back from what I was doing with the pull-ups. Since I weigh enough, I definitely got a good pump session in my back just from doing this amongst all the other work that I did previously. And I wanted to hit my obliques really hard because they're already very tired from all those carries. So I decided to do the pull-off press. And the pull-off press is an excellent exercise to do to really target those obliques. And for the accessory giant set, I was doing 3 rounds. And again, the versatile SSB, you're able to use it for lots of things. And so I decided to carry it 5 paces away from the squat rack, and then turn around and then do SSB walking lunges back. And I really liked this movement, and it definitely finished off my quads. My quads were pumping by the time I was done doing all that work and finishing it off with the SSB walking lunge. And to finish off my biceps, I did some heavy rope supination curls with that 53-pound kettlebell. Just make sure that I'm targeting that supination motion, which really builds those biceps. And of course, hitchhikers for overall shoulder health and to finish off the back. And that was the entire workout for the day. And we're done. And of course, as I finished, the rain has stopped, meaning that I am the victor and I've defeated nature all by myself. At least that's what I'm going to tell myself. Now, if you're thinking about doing a home gym and you want to buy a rack and a barbell, and you're thinking about using this instead of purchasing a barbell, I don't recommend that. I recommend that you purchase a rack and a barbell, because you can do a lot more stuff with a barbell that carries over into natural strength. But if you already have a home gym and you're looking to add a second implement to it, this is a perfect implement to add to your arsenal because, as you can see, it's very versatile when you put it all together in a very functional workout. Really appreciate everybody stopping by, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.